Okay, so welcome to this follow-up video on Sonic Recursion. I'm not going to go through everything because most of that's covered in the tutorial videos and also with the other videos describing the sorts of sound sources being used. The main cause of most of the sound that you are hearing is coming from this channel, which is with the distortion pedal. It has a resonator on it. It also has a frequency shifter and a Max4Live LFO. It's also advisable when you use this sort of technique that you put limiters pretty much on every single channel, especially if you're sending signals back and forth. Now, the main difference between this project and some of the other ones from the tutorial videos is really just to do with the rack here for the frequency shifter. Essentially what I've done is to create two channels, one that is dry, so that's purely just the dry signal without the frequency shifter, still has the resonator and everything else on it, but doesn't have the frequency shifter. And then the channel for the frequency shifter. And then in the chain window, I've essentially sort of set it up so that the Max4Live LFO, which is over here, which is controlling this macro. So the chain selector, this blue sort of rectangular or oblong object that you see moving around, the chain selector has been mapped to a macro so that it can be automated by the LFO. And essentially it fluctuates between the wholly wet signal crossfading into the dry signal or part of the dry signal. Now you can do this because just above here, and it's quite sort of tough to see sometimes, just above here is another sort of parameter that you can alter, and this allows you to create crossfades between elements within a rack. This doesn't have to just to do with samples or effects. You can use it for MIDI instruments and so on and so forth. You can also define sort of areas where a particular part of a sound will appear or disappear as well. And then you just right-click the chain selector and then map it to a macro. It's pretty straightforward. But this is essentially a developed version of the sounds that you would have been hearing in the other tutorial and Soundscape videos. And this allows for another layer of interest to be generated. And again, everything is controlled from the Max4Live LFO over here. So you can see here, this is controlling the chain selector. So we can limit its sort of area of operation. So you can have it to just sort of oscillate between, you can see there, being able to make it just oscillate between sort of dry and wet. Probably went a little bit too far there, maybe about here. Some of the things that you should consider are also about the rate. So the rate of change, this oscillation. These oscillations will get you to, again, another area of interest that almost comes up into the audio spectrum. lot of interesting things that can be done with what's pretty much we could consider as just being stock tools available in Ableton. The beauty of it is that rather than it being a off-the-shelf VST instrument that you bought that you can't customize, you can customize this as much as you want. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard and enjoyed this little walkthrough. Please remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time.